Alice and I are always looking to be more healthy, and we were just talking about how fasting is one of the best ways to do that. But it's so hard. But the great thing about Prolon is that's not what you're doing. It's not that you're not eating for 5 days. Instead, you're using their science-backed program to convince your body you're fasting.
You guys, this 5-day program really is amazing. It comes beautifully packaged and it does all the thinking for you. Each day is its own box. And by following their program, I know I just feel so much better. And I can't wait to experience Prolong Next Gen and continue to see results. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolong is offering the Prosecutors listeners 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/prosecutors. That's prolonlife.com/prosecutors to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/prosecutors.
Hey guys, this is Brett and Alice from the Prosecutors. We don't have a new episode for you today, but we do want to tell you about an exciting new podcast called Bad Blood, the Final Chapter. If you're like me, you followed the saga of Elizabeth Holmes very closely. From the beginning, when Theranos looked like it was going to be a groundbreaking, world-changing company, and then you saw the fall. And if you've read Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, you know what a fantastic storyteller he is. And now he wants to share the final chapter of this exciting story with you via his new podcast.
That's right. John Carreyrou is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist whose reporting for the Wall Street Journal first uncovered Elizabeth Holmes's fraud. He is really the expert on the topic. In this new podcast, he's going to walk you through the government's case against Elizabeth Holmes and everything happening in the courtroom. You'll hear exactly how Theranos got away lying to investors, patients, and doctors. And you'll learn about the impact Elizabeth Holmes's lies and the consequences of Silicon Valley's fake it till you make it culture.
Plus, there's going to be a lot of new material in the show that has never been published before. What you're about to hear is from an episode about how Elizabeth tried to capitalize on the 2014 Ebola epidemic to land a big investor. If you've ever wondered what Theranos would do if it was still around during the COVID-19 pandemic, this is probably a good clue. Take a listen.
In March of 2015, Elizabeth was invited to Stanford. She was now a full-blown celebrity, the Silicon Valley prodigy who was upending medicine. Forbes had anointed her the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. She was a sought-after guest speaker. Her talk at Stanford was a fireside chat with Theranos board member George Shultz. About half an hour in, she got a question from the audience about the FDA. She answered it with her usual spiel about how she welcomed FDA oversight of laboratory tests. But as she spoke, Shultz interrupted her.
There are frustrations. For example, is it okay for me to say?
I don't know. Maybe you should not say.
For example, Elizabeth has
No,
a
you should
test
not say. No.
that will spot Ebola very early, before it is
George,
symptomatic. So it can be treated before it becomes communicable. So we're waiting for approval.
We're working with the agency. We have a very good relationship with the agency, and it's been something that that has proved to us that supporting the requirement for FDA regulation, even of tests that right now don't have to be regulated by FDA, is the right thing to do.
Elizabeth hadn't told Shultz that Theranos' Ebola application was stalled because it had failed to answer the agency's questions. Instead, she'd left him with the misleading impression that it was the FDA being slow. And now, that fib was boomeranging back on her in public. Although, being the smooth operator that she was able to play the awkward moment for laughs. There was something else Elizabeth hadn't told Shultz. By the time of their talk at Stanford, her interest in Ebola had waned. The outbreak in West Africa was coming under control, And after the death of the traveler from Liberia and Dallas, the CDC had successfully stopped the epidemic from spreading on U.S. soil. As one former Theranos executive put it to me, after the new year, Ebola was kind of dropped. Elizabeth was no longer bugging us about it. Meanwhile, Byron Trott's BDT Capital had walked away from an investment in Theranos for reasons unrelated to Ebola. In fact, why BDT walked away is a whole other story, a fascinating one, that I'm going to tell you in another episode of this podcast. But back to Ebola. Before it walked away, BDT had drafted a 21-page memo about Theranos for its co-investors. It listed all the Ebola claims Elizabeth and Sonny had made to the firm. One of those claims was that the CDC had asked Theranos to develop an Ebola fingerstick test because of, quote, the propensity of field workers to accidentally stick themselves with infected needles. That wasn't true. A person with knowledge of the matter told me it was Elizabeth who'd approached CDC Director Tom Frieden, not the other way around. And Frieden had never found her claims about Theranos' test credible. He'd even likened them to cold fusion. That's scientist speak for something that's laughably impossible. What about the $120 million contract Theranos claimed to be negotiating with the government to test for Ebola at U.S. airports and in West Africa? As far as BDT knew, that contract was now expanding to, quote, provide the infrastructure to contain future biothreats. But Frieden had never heard of such a contract. So, were Elizabeth and Sonny lying about it? In hindsight, it sure sounds like it.
You'll see on the third paragraph down, it says, the company is currently negotiating the terms of a contract with the U.S. government to provide testing services for Ebola within U.S. airports and alongside the U.S. military and aid agencies in West Africa. Did you tell BDT this?
I don't remember a specific conversation to that effect.
That's Elizabeth being confronted with the BDT memo by SEC staff attorney Jessica Chan in the summer of 2017.
Were you negotiating the terms of a contract with the U.S. government at that time with respect to Ebola?
Not that I can recall.
So would this statement be true as of late 2014?
I don't think so, but I can't remember exactly who we were engaging with on Ebola contracting.
Sonny, too, was asked about the big government contract in his SEC interview 2 weeks later.
What about the statement 2 more paragraphs down? The company is currently working with the government to finalize a contract which it plans to announce in the coming months, launching in U.S. airports shortly thereafter.
My recollection is I did not make this comment, and I don't know if anybody, best to my knowledge, was talking to the government or not.
Clearly, there never was an Ebola contract under negotiation. It was something Elizabeth and Sonny said to impress BDT and its co-investors. But that FDA approval never came. Although Theranos eventually did send responses to the agency's questions, the FDA found them unsatisfactory, and its application languished. The Ebola epidemic subsided in early 2016. By then, I had published my first expose on Theranos, and the company was in a fight for its life. To try to turn public opinion around, Elizabeth went to Philadelphia to address the annual meeting of the American Association for Clinical Chemistry. There, in front of thousands of laboratory scientists from around the country, she unveiled the mini lab. And she touted something else, a new test.
Finally, we'll present results on the nucleic acid detection capabilities of the mini-lab and introduce our Zika nucleic acid-based assay on mini-lab.
The Ebola epidemic had faded from view, but there was a new plague sweeping across Latin America, Zika.
Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed the clip, you can search for Bad Blood, the final chapter, wherever you get your podcasts.
Shopify is a platform built for growth, whether you're just starting out or already running a thriving business. From managing inventory to creating a seamless checkout experience, Shopify is designed to handle it all. And it doesn't stop there. Shopify helps you sell everywhere your customers are, online or in person. It's the ultimate tool for turning big dreams into big wins. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/OPP,